Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bill and Ammon's Bogus Hangout. Got Terry Van Horn with me today. Hi, Terry. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
So, what have you been up to for last week? I missed you guys last week at PubCon.
Being busy this week, doing a couple of site reviews, building, looking at building a new site and a community for another client. So, keeping busy.
That sounds like fun. Yeah, I've got a couple of site audits in my pipeline. I'm actually looking forward to them. They're killer-sized sites. And,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, these weren't very big sites and they weren't having any real problems. So I do like a really quick audit, mainly look at the backlinks to make sure that the profiles, at least somewhat clean.
Yeah.
And see if there's other, clean up the GSC, make sure all the no 404s, all that stuff. Figure out why there aren't more pages being indexed, that sort of thing.
One of these sites is at least a few 100,000 URLs in size, at least, if not a little bit bigger than that. It's property sales, land sale throughout the country. They're like pages for cities and towns across the U.S. I think it's maybe U.S. I think it's U.S. only. But it covers a lot of territory.
Yeah, I did a site similar to that quite a few years back. It's called Neighborhood Scout.
Yeah.
And they all, are you familiar with it?
No, I'm not.
They actually take the United States and overlay real estate, sales and whatnot information over school grades, where you can get information about schools and police records, that sort of thing. And then it assesses all these neighborhoods. It's one of the best programs I've seen in a long time. As far as
I've seen things like that on Zillow and Redfin, where they talk about the quality of the schools.
Yeah.
Been seeing walkability scores for a lot of real estate sites.
Right. Well, Dr. Schiller is the person who owns the site and figured it all out. He's a urban, I forget what they're called. He is
an urban planner.
Further up than that, he does the theory part of it type thing. Really smart guy, interesting.
Well, I was thinking of the guy who designed Reston, Virginia. It was Robert E. Smith, R.E.S. Reston.
Right.
So he designed communities around Washington, D.C. Reston was supposed to have 8 central hubs that were combinations of mixed-use land, homes, business, retail, some warehousing, all mixed together in the same areas. And these 8 communities around DC were supposed to be connected by hiking trails and drop roads and so on. They weren't just supposed to be sprawl like what has developed around Washington, D.C.
Right.
But it's interesting. So he was still alive 10 years ago or so. And I went to Reston Virginia, and he was walking around. There was a statue of him at a park bench, which he would pose with every once in a while for people. It was fun to see somebody who was working to try to build on that type of level, interacting with people in the community that he built.
Yeah, that'd be excellent.
Yeah, so I've talked to these people, and one of the things we talked about was linking to Wikipedia to give people a chance to find out more about communities that they see on this site in Wikipedia, which seems to make sense. There's a lot of information about towns and cities in Wikipedia.
Yeah, when I was working on that project for the content that I had to write for each city and state and that, I used the U.S. Census for housing information and Wikipedia.
Okay.
Okay, we didn't take it exactly. We basically read it, and they contacted us and asked for a link, of all things. I just said no, and I gave them what is it called? Attribution, like said, oh, it was kind of lifted from Wikipedia. They weren't too happy with that. They said most people give a link, and I just said, yeah, and most people aren't very smart.
I think it makes sense to link to pages on this site to Wikipedia, appropriate Wikipedia pages.
That was as much the client than me.
Yeah.
Didn't want to put anything. Well, they're a search engine, right? And they collect a lot of data. They didn't really want to, So, but it all worked out. They were happy in the end. I believe that linking out to things like that is good. I think Google looks at the quality of the sites that you're linking to.
I remember back in the early days of building web pages and what we would link to, and what discussions we had about building links. And I remember, like one of the sites I was working on was a site that helped people start businesses, incorporate, create LLCs and so on. And linking to tax attorneys and linking to CPAs seemed to make a lot of sense. But the ones that you would sort of trust your clients with?
Right. Well, that wouldn't, I shouldn't say it. I'm not a big fan of lawyers, Bill.
Well, some lawyers are reasonable. Some lawyers, maybe not so much.
Yeah. I guess I've only met the not so much. Yeah, there was a gentleman, I know that Ammon would know right away, who wrote on Webmaster World about that. And at the time, that was when I was just building my first website that was basically all information. And all I did was link to the best resources. And I was ranking like crazy. I agreed with him then. I think it's a legacy. So the amount that you could move rankings by linking out has been diluted over time by all the other factors that have been added to the equation. there's a lot of things that I kind of look at that watered down effect. Same with linking, isn't as important as it was 5 years ago because there's so many more things that Google has in its algorithms now that even if they left the value and did not change the value of it alone, it is diluted by the number of factors that there are.
One of the early features behind Google's algorithms was something called hubs and authorities.
Yep.
As originally developed by a man named John Kleinberg.
Right.
He said that some sites are authority sites in that they're the sites you go to when you want to find information about a specific topic and you want to find more resources about it. You go to the authority sites and follow links from them to other pages, other sites that maybe narrows down your search.
There were a couple of search engines, I don't know if it was in the late 90s or early 2000s, that were built on those principles.
Stuff like
Northern Light was one, I believe.
And that's the one I was going to mention, yeah.
Okay. But there was another one also.
Look Smart?
Which one?
Look Smart?
Look Smart owned it. That was the company I was trying to think of. They owned this search engine that was a lot of Kleinberg's work went into it. But it wasn't around very long before it just kind of went poof, gone.
I think Kleinberg was working on the Clever project, which was from IBM originally, around the time that Page and Brin were working on PageRank and Backrub and so on.
Yeah.
And they were working in one garage in Stanford, and he was working in another garage in the same town, Stanford. So it must have been something in the water.
Oh, all that come out of Stanford?
Yeah.
Wow. Their program then is probably the basis of most search for the last 2 decades.
I don't think that Kleinberg went to school at Stanford, but I think he may have taught there.
Oh, okay. Well, teach.
I'm going to have to look that up. I think so, yeah.
Also, he's a teacher. He didn't go there.
He has another algorithm where he talks about burstiness in search results.
Okay, I'm not
when
familiar
you see certain things that involve certain topics, they sometimes hit you all at the same time. So if you track hot topics, you might be able to anticipate what people are searching for. And when you see those topics keep on appearing over and over again in searches, so if you look at like a Google Trends and see how they track what people are searching for, that sort of gives them a head start on answering queries.
Right. Also, how they kind of do Google does news now is kind of based on a system pretty close to that.
So Kleinberg was a university professor, and he came up with this concept of burstiness from answering students' emails. And he noticed he'd get emails on different topics through different points in the year, like when exam times rolled around.
Right.
So sometimes the inspirations for algorithms are ordinary things in your life.
Right. Applying life to the problem.
Yeah.
Google should do more of that, in my opinion. They wouldn't do stuff like the author stuff.
Well, the stuff they do with answer boxes is supposed to be a response to that type of burstiness.
Right.
At certain seasons, at certain points of the year, certain times, they know that they're going to get certain query types, and if they respond to them differently, say someone searches for Christmas information in December, they're going to get one type of result. They're going to get very different results in January.
Yeah, I've seen that in apparel for pajamas, right?
Yeah.
More of a winter item than a summer item. Definitely saw the search really change.
Yeah.
Almost like in a circle where it'd be no one selling them. It would be like the pajama organization, Wikipedia. I saw Christmas Wikipedia go down to the middle of the second page.
Right. I had a client who sold Hanukkah gifts. Same type of thing. Very seasonal.
Yeah. And I think that's partly rooted in click analysis, right?
To a degree, yeah.
Right? They see more people clicking certain types of sites. One of the things that I'm looking at right now is after the change in local, I had some certs that really went like, I've never seen this. I watched certain certs for years, and I know every site in them. And this one, you'd see them occasionally, but now they've been planted in the results for a few months, starting to move some. And I actually found us in a local pack where we hadn't been in any of those for a while. After almost every query, we were in there before August 22nd. After August 22nd, gone. Not one.
So
really?
August 22nd?
That's when they released that Hawk update. Or what the local folks are calling Hawk, let's put it that way.
Because hawks eat possums. Okay.
Apparently.
That's what I've heard from local people. That's why they gave it that name.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I would say that they should look a little deeper if that's the way you're thinking, because it's not that simple.
Yeah.
I won't make the comment I was going to about people in local search.
There are some smart people in local search.
There are some, but there are some that make a lot of, I'll just say I don't give their word. I have to see it before I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, when the possum happened.
Yeah.
It was all, I was told I would never see the rankings again. Week and a half later, I was back in the local packs. So just laughed. And then, they can't explain that. Well, I know why, because after the results, they actually, I don't think people understand that Google is always looking at the results and rating them. Like, there's a lot of people that's all they do. And my feeling is when there's an update like this, where it causes a lot of change, right? And not all of it good, all of it expected, these quality raters look at those certs and then adjust them to where they want them.
Right. When the possum update happened, Google had a patent about locally significant search results updated, a continuation version of the patent that Navneet Panda had a hand in updating.
Which would mean probably has something to do with the quality of websites.
What his update added to it was the fact that Google would show more local search results, but they would watch those results to see what type of impact they had, whether or not people chose them, clicked upon them, or decided not to. And if people didn't like the choices they were given, they would start showing other ones.
Okay, so probably click analysis alerts them, and then someone looks at it and says, yeah, this is probably the issue.
If your site stops doing well in local results, but you find a way to get it in front of more people and get more people clicking on it, you can overcome that.
Yeah. The problem with these SERPs, full, just packed, replaced almost every one of the providers with aggregators and classified sites. Some of the aggregators, not even located in Toronto. They have pages on Toronto. So that's a big change to local, where that business is not located in Toronto.
So the aggregators had pages that were focused on Toronto, so they were filled in sort of like public service announcements and ads.
No, they replaced office providers with aggregators. So basically, Google replaced the people who are buying their ads with people that are selling those people ads. It makes no sense to me, and it's really tough on us because a lot of the aggregators, we won't have anything to do with them, because when you look at the properties that are listed on them, junk. I mean, the people are there because they're having trouble renting their places out.
So that's sounding a little bit like you're getting people who have lots of background in computer science making business decisions. Not very well either.
Right. Or whatever they did to the local algorithm enabled, like we've got, if you look at, there's a company called LoopNet, and they're basically a international office space aggregator. If you do searches, it didn't matter what country I searched in, they were in the top 10. That I had never seen in 3 years of working in this query space. And I don't mean in a few, I've seen them occasionally on off season when people would be just, it's like this, believe it or not, office space is kind of a seasonal business, whereas after New Year's and after September, we get busier because people's kids go to school and the wife decides she wants to go out and do some freelancing. So she gets a virtual office so they don't have to use their home. So that's a good time for us. And the virtual office, no problem. It's just the office space query and space, and I can't. 2 months on this, and I just starting to get to understand what happened. Other people talking about it, but I've seen it in another query space, and all of these. We're talking where the top query has maybe 7,000 impressions. Right. So, and that's not Canada. That's the United States.
I've worked in that niche. Yeah. We had clients who were in co-working. I think we
then you have the problem.
We stayed away from using office space as a term.
Actually, you have a lot of competition there because of the movie.
Yeah.
But it worked for me. I became #1 for Office Space quotes.
We were using stuff like executive suites.
Yeah, that's not even a term that gets any searches these days.
No.
I believe that co-working has basically replaced business center. So everyone calls themselves a co-working space now.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, and 99% of them are just business centers. They have, and every business center, believe it or not, community. If you go to the actual business center, all the people that are working in it all know one another. It's the same as co-space, co-working, you know what I mean? Only thing is you don't have, 10 other people in the room gabbing and whatnot. It's an interesting, challenging, competitive.
I was looking at that and wondering how smart it might be to start offering products to people in co-working spaces, like whiteboards that they could put on their doors in those offices, because they all tend to be glass wall places. You can walk around.
Yeah.
Always. And
yeah, that would be the main difference between co-working is basically an open space with maybe a few offices around.
Yeah.
That's the difference mainly. We have co-working and it's just what used to be the hot desk. I'm sure you're familiar with that term if you know office executive suites. That's where you could just drop in and get a desk with a phone and everything, do your business.
One of our clients was just outside of DC, and the name of the company was like the car sharing service, Uber offices. So I would visit there every once in a while, and I remember Google Maps would always think that I was asking for Hoover offices, like the FBI headquarters.
Oh, wow.
So I used to have to stop and type it into Google Maps. No, I don't need to see the FBI today. Thank you. But no, those were fun, and we've got the company I'm working for right now is in Reston, Virginia, and in Raleigh, North Carolina, in office spaces, in co-working spaces there. And I visited one of those a few weeks ago. I spoke at the Raleigh SEO meetup, and they hosted it at one of those places in Raleigh, which is really nice. And
yeah, we've got a training room that'll seat 30 to 50 people.
Yeah.
Perfect for that sort of thing. And they usually have teleconferencing and that sort of thing. So really handy.
I think one of the sales features behind a spot like that is having a big room where you can host events. It attracts people to do some networking and share ideas and
Yeah, that's very much the co-working attitude, is those kind of events. We're starting those in the new year. And I built a community, online community as well, because they have office space, but they have a huge virtual office clientele, because they've been doing this for 35 years. So
is that receiving mail and answering phone calls for them?
Yep, they have what they call virtual address, which is just basically mail forwarding.
Yeah.
But the advantage and why, actually, I have never understood why Google was against virtual offices. A person's home, if they're not there, our receptionist will accept parcels, anything, any kind of mail. They'll also, if someone comes up and asks for a company, they'll tell them they're not there and contact the company and say, hey, there's someone here. And you can also have meetings at the place that you're calling your business, place of business.
Right.
So I have never understood why Google comes out and says, can't have, we don't like virtual offices. Better than a home.
We've got, in these offices, we've got some people working remotely, partially through the week. They only come into the office 2 days or 3 days a week.
Yeah, well, even if you look at it, right, even huge companies like IBM and Fortune 500 companies are going to that system, because to get young workers don't want to work 9 to 5. They want what's called flex time. They want to be able to make their own hours, come and go as they please, right? As long as I get the work done, that's all that matters.
And I've seen
in a lot of companies, if you look at it, right?
Yeah.
Think of how much a person pays on top of renting the office space. They have to pay for a waiting room. They have to pay for any kind of meeting room space, and they have to pay for a break room. When you rent an office space, that's all included.
Right.
And ours includes, I think it's 8 hours a month of free meeting room time.
So it's sort of like the idea behind Uber, taxi service with no cars, Airbnb, a hotel service with no hotels,
right?
Or workspaces with where you're doing an office as a service rather than a piece of property. Yeah.
Right. And, we have people that have like 15 employees in a team space. Can you imagine how much they're saving by renting that rather than going to a building and paying extra? The other thing is, it's totally flexible. So in other words, if you told us, well, we're gone at the end of the month, okay, fine. No contracts. It's all flexible. So also, if you have a virtual office and you want an office, you can move into the office space without changing your address or anything, even your phone number, because our reception system enables them to just forward the call to wherever you are. So you could be at home, they're answering the phone and forwarding it to your home phone, just as if you were in the office. It's, if I were doing an office, that's definitely, I would go that route.
We've worked with a couple of phone services that are like that too, where you can set up phone calls to forward to people's homes, and you build in answering systems and so on. That's
virtual call center.
Yeah.
Virtual call center. I worked with those as well. I was in the call center business before I got into the internet. So from one annoying thing to another.
Do you do any SEO combined with virtual call center software?
No, but I would be interested in doing it if I ever got the chance. Let's say I thought about it.
Yeah.
And these days, with recordings and everything, you know, in the old days, that part of my job at the call center was I used to listen to the agents talking to the clients, and sometimes I'd even be giving them tips on how to close while they were talking to the person.
First SEO job I had was an in-house job. I mentioned incorporation business, and I had the people answering calls write people's questions on notepads, because this way we can look at the questions that we're getting and decide whether or not we needed to add that to the website.
Yeah, I was the system we were using, I was writing the scripts that they were using in the calls, and they were on a computer.
Mm-hmm.
We were using XML data back then. That would be in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really data islands. Like I was pulling my hair out. I'd never seen anything like this. Never worked with it.
You were way ahead of your time.
I realized that afterwards.
Because data islands were big again a couple years ago. Yeah.
Oh, this was a long time ago. This is
Yeah.
when I first started in the business. I actually was working at the call center at night and doing web development and SEO, all the other stuff during the day. Back then, I was young and stupid and worked 20 hours a day.
I remember those days.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I may have started out SEO as a part-time employee, but there was not much that was part-time about it.
Right. Weren't getting paid a lot of the time, but you were going at it like it was a regular job.
Yeah.
But in the end, it all paid off. That's the way I look at it.
There's no replacing that type of experience either.
Well, we've seen things that and had to learn to do things that I believe gives us an advantage over the person who comes in and has all these tools and all this stuff that they don't even have to really think outside of the box. The box is already there for them. We had to build the box and then figure out how to use the box.
I get some of these SEO emails from people writing blog posts asking me which is the best SEO tool for a certain thing. I'm thinking, tool? Wait a second. What do you need to use a tool for this for?
Right.
Yeah. Maybe.
I like to answer back, the best tool is between my ears.
Yeah. That gets old, though.
Yeah. Well, if you use that tool first, you usually get a lot more out of the second tool you use. I think too many people use tools looking to discover things when they should be using the tools to verify, not discover.
Right. I gave a presentation on context vectors and using co-occurrence to build topic models at PubCon this last week. And of course, one of the first questions I got from somebody was, what tools do you use for finding co-occurrence? And I said, I usually just look up the top ranking sites in Google, find phrases and terms that appear regularly from one site to another, put them in Excel.
You know what? I don't do it in Excel. I have a text editor that gives me all the, breaks down every word in a document, tells me how many times it was repeated. Then all I do is look through, scan the document for myself to see where the occurrences are happening. Like in the page, how many are at the beginning, how many in the middle, how many in the third, like in the bottom half. Kind of like we used to do with keywords, like when, and the matches, you know.
Yeah,
how many?
I was thinking when you mentioned that, like an SEO book, keyword density tool, which would tell you how many times certain words appeared on page.
Yeah, I'd like to know that. The reason being is I don't pay any attention to density.
Right.
I look at, if they do this word 7 times, that means that it's probably best to repeat it more than this other word. You get just to understand priorities, right?
Right. If you're writing a page on Office Space and you look up in the top 10 ranking sites, which terms show up the most. You make sure that you're not talking about the movie.
Right. That helps. If you look up Office Space, though, 9 out of the first 10 are all to do with the movie. I found, though, that afterwards, if you do that query Office Space and then you add anything after it, it automatically goes to the right thing, to the building stuff, right? And it realizes, okay, they're not looking for the movie, they're looking for the other. And I think that also may be playing into the local stuff that we were talking about earlier, where that query space has multiple entities there, right? It has the movie and it has the thing Office Space.
It's recognized your choices from click-throughs to determine which documents are biased documents that you should be shown when you search for a certain thing and you want a certain category from that type of thing, a certain meaning, a cluster.
Yeah, well, especially when you see the first SERP and you don't click on anything and you add another modifier, they know right away they messed with that.
Yeah.
Not very hard to see. And that's when I found we rank really well in that circumstance. Like it figures out right away, oh, they're not looking for this. Now you still get the aggregators in there. But, you know, that's, I think that'll go away myself. Just because of the quality of the site. And to me, because they aren't actually located in the locations, it's got to be authority being passed from the home page to the pages that are ranking. And at some point, they're going to realize that that authority isn't really topical and relevant. That's my hope, anyhow.
I do remember a couple of patents Google came out with where they talked about passing relevance up and down through pages of a site through different topics. And a geographic relevance would be one of those types of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, especially with, you know, when you look at local, it's like location and distance. Well, if they don't have a location, how do you measure the distance? and even Toronto, you still don't have a location really
That's.
to measure a distance from, because you're encompassing the whole city.
Do you remember when Google Maps used to have a what and a where field? Two of them, two different ones. So you want pizza, that you'd have to type in pizza in one box, and then type the city you were looking for in the second box. That was earliest days of Google Maps. I don't remember how long it took them to get rid of that.
I didn't pay a lot of attention to maps when it first came out because it wasn't really attached to local then. It seemed like it was just maps they were playing with. You know, another Google project that who knows if it's going to last or not.
Because I was doing incorporation stuff with SEO, and I was working for a Delaware company. Company was in Delaware. People were doing lots of searches that were location based. They wanted to incorporate in Delaware. So I did a lot of geographically located queries. So I was paying a lot of attention to maps and to organic local SEO.
Right. But in the first, when maps first came out, there wasn't much local SEO, because I remember the first article I read on local SEO was on your site. And it was one of the first patents that Google came out talking about how they were going to use, how local would work, or how they'd like it to work. I remember that.
Not quite sure expected it to evolve to a navigation system like it has.
It's pretty evolved now, especially if when you look at mobile search and smartphones. You know, I think that query near me, that's the next one I have to figure out, is how you optimize for that.
People have been saying, and this is probably important for that, near me is dying out.
Oh, okay.
Queries with near me in it, people aren't doing anymore, because they're recognizing that when they do a search for a certain topic, near me is figured as automatic, as something that people mean already. So,
in other words,
so if you're searching for,
algo is trying to make it local to you without you putting near me. Well, that's
so if you search for pizza near me, it's like you just search for pizza. You assume automatically they say they know near you is what you want.
Google even knows my favorite pizza place, because if I put Pizza Toronto, it puts in the one that I'm looking for every time, #1, because I always click it, and they probably know I copy the phone number as well, because that's what I'm looking for. There's one query that the phone number comes right in the description.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I should just mark it as a favorite. But I like searching like that. That's how you kind of learn new things.
Yeah.
Like with the work I did this the last couple of months on local, I was finding like SERPs where the local pack was at the bottom, not at the top.
It's when you come across things that you haven't anticipated that are anomalies.
Right.
That you learn new things. Yeah.
Like I'd never seen that before, where they put the local pack at the bottom of the search.
That's moved around a lot over the years. Remember, local packs used to be 7 items long at one point in time,
Yeah.
and then they switched to 4 and 3. I think now mostly they're 3.
Yeah. Sometimes they're 2 in an ad.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the last change, like pretty much, I remember that pretty much since Venice, it was finding local intent pretty well from that time on.
In the organic results, they were showing more local.
Right, right. Dave and I used to laugh because you could go to a city and just put hockey, and it would only list hockey teams that were in the city or close to it.
Have you tried the events feature?
No, that's something I'm going to look at though, because we do events at our place as well.
Yeah.
I'm actually writing basically an events calendar, but it would enable people who rent from us to promote their event locally here using the tools I built.
So they're grabbing event information from event markup from different sites that show events, like
arenas and stuff like that.
Yeah, from schools, from museums.
Right.
A real mix. Yeah.
Yeah. What about a meetup spot? Like
they're taking meetup event information, including that in those too.
Yeah.
So I looked up music events. I just typed that in. I didn't even put a near me or San Diego.
Right.
And they showed me there's like a museum of making music in my town, which has concerts every once in a while. And that was in there. There was a church that was giving some type of concert listed too.
I'll have to look at that. I'd be interested to know, do you need to use the structured data or will it work without?
If you submit your events to sites that aggregate event information and share it with Google, then you don't need the structured data.
Right, that's what I thought. So they know kind of the event sites that they want to include in the search.
Right, so they'll go to Meetup and they'll grab events from Meetup and they'll categorize them and then respond to queries that people perform.
I have to look that up because if I could get Google interested in those events, that would help a lot.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, we've got a client who does online. No, they do training for people doing trading, stocks and bonds and so on.
Yep.
And they have webinars, and the webinars show up in these events too.
Oh, okay.
So that's useful. That's if you have events like that, it's good to know that they're including that type of stuff.
Yeah. When we're going off air in here in a minute, I'll be picking your brain.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're so what are you up to coming up the next week or so?
Next week or so, just finishing up a couple of sites, and then I think I'm going to start developing a couple of new sites. Got to input data into one, and I've started a little bit of SEO Pros, but I hope to get it really underway here shortly.
That'd be good to see.
so I can start transferring data and stuff over there. Going to move it from Unix onto my favorite, Azure, onto the cloud. That way, if some of the things I want to do work out, it'll be easy to build it out into different countries.
Yeah.
That's one of the advantages to Azure. You can host in the United States, but get what they call endpoints in a lot of different countries, Canada, Australia, etc.
Have you used the automated assistant in Google Analytics? It's machine intelligence information that they share with you about your site. It told me that I was really slow to viewers in India. And so that was before I changed my host. I changed my host to one that provided Cloudflare CDN.
Right.
And that allows you to have closer geographic locations for where people grab your data from.
Right. It distributes the load basically to the country where they're from.
Right.
So you're not trying to reach India from the United States.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of value to being on a cloud in such a way. Yeah.
Yeah, Azure is it's building out pretty quickly. When I first started, I think it was only available in the United States. Now they've added Canada and Australia for sure. I haven't really looked recently, but they're building it out pretty quickly.
That's a big competition too. Who provides what cloud services?
Yeah, I think they're giving Amazon a good run for their money. For me, since everything I use is Microsoft, it makes a lot of sense for me to use Office 360 and Azure. Office 360 works as my DNS, believe it or not. For, I think, over 15 sites I have on it.
Yeah, Google came out with a patent on cloud-based vending machines, which had me wondering, would they start actually shipping vending machines and servicing? They have a Google Ventures-backed company that does that. It's putting vending machines in office buildings all throughout San Francisco at this point.
Yeah, that's kind of the future of that business.
And you know, they can connect wirelessly to the cloud, and all the processing. You can send payment to the cloud to the vending machine. You don't have to actually put money in it.
Right, right.
Which makes it, you know, it makes it convenient if you're installing a vending machine at a place like a street corner. You don't have to connect it to a network directly.
You don't have to worry about the money being stolen either.
Right.
And I think that technology is like going to advance and become more ingrained in society. As you know, now we have the credit cards that you just tap and transact. You know, debit is much easier than it was, and becoming more simple. I can see when at some point your pad is right on your keyboard and all you do is touch it. The keyboards will have a thing, so like Bluetooth type thing, right?
Yeah. So
to pass that.
Sort of like Google Wallet built into your keyboard. Yeah.
Right. Especially with phones where you know, it's built right into them almost now, right? wouldn't know because I haven't owned a phone, but that's what I'm told.
Yeah, the supermarkets I shop at have Android Pay built into the debit card readers.
Oh, cool.
So,
Do they have any shops near you where they have automated checkout where you just put it through and then it?
not quite to the point where you push your card through the area and it just scans everything and gives you a dollar amount. We don't have that yet.
Oh, okay. I can see that coming though. Like
Yeah.
if my job was working for a supermarket as a person at the till, I'd be wondering how long I'm going to have a job.
So I've seen GS1 doing stuff with schema. And GS1 is the company that first introduced barcodes and scanning machines like 40 years ago or so. And they're responsible for all those machines in supermarkets, the checkout lines.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have if you haven't seen it, there's a demo for the GS1 Smart Search, which allows you to put information, type information in, they'll spit out the JSON LD for you.
Oh, wow.
And they've come up with an extension for e-commerce, which is a lot more detailed than what existed before. Like involves packaging materials for products that you might ship.
Right. Is that the same company that also keeps track of SKU numbers, gives them out to manufacturers, etc.?
G10 numbers.
Okay. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. I had a client that was selling stuff that had no SKU attached to it. It was furniture made by Amish furniture. Yeah. So chances of them having barcodes and stuff are not very good. So I was thinking,
it's easy to apply for the G10s.
Right.
But you need to apply for them.
Right. And the reason I was thinking of doing it is because to properly do review scheme and whatnot, it should be a unique code, right?
Yeah.
And they wanted to use someone else's who theirs wasn't also registered. So I told them, I don't think this works long term.
If you're selling through a marketplace type site like an Amazon or an eBay, if you have your own and you're selling the same products from the same manufacturers,
right?
You want to have unique G10s because this way, if there's a return, you're the one recognized as being the seller of that particular product.
Okay.
Because they track the G10.
Oh, so even if you're selling a product that already has one, you should try and get one for your branded product?
For your version of the same brand, same branded product, yeah.
Okay, I didn't think you could do that, but you can.
If you're selling through Amazon, you look at products and it tells you which company you're buying it from. And it's a marketplace now. So there are lots of companies that are selling through Amazon. If you've got more than one company selling that product, and you've got some products for sale in unique packaging. So
right.
you might buy one or a package of 2, a package of 3, a package of 6, a dozen, and those might have different G10s for each of them. because they might come from different companies, even though they're the same product. So they apply for unique G10s, and if a product needs to be returned, it's got the G10 attached to it. The right company is the one who has to pay them back the money that they paid for it.
Cool.
But yeah, it's worth looking at a GS1 demo and looking at all the stuff they've added to Schema for e-commerce. It's a lot of stuff.
Oh, I can imagine, because that's where markup can really show what it can be used for.
Yeah.
When you think about something that's machine readable on an e-commerce site, that's like gold.
And Eric Ingate did a presentation with Gary Ills from Google last week at PubCon. And one of the things he asked him was if Schema is making a difference in terms of ranking. And Gary admitted that it is. Which
that's someone who actually works for Google.
People from Google have been avoiding answering that question for a long time. So yeah, good to hear, good to know.
But I think that's to kind of not get people too excited and get people using it who are using it for the right reason. They aren't going to abuse it.
As long as your schema matches up with what you have on your web pages in text, you shouldn't have a problem.
Right. That was something I was going to ask you.
As long as if they're inconsistent, you might get penalized, like a manual ranking penalty from Google.
Yeah. If you were doing local, right?
Yeah.
And the people just had JSON LD on the site for Schema, I'm encouraging them to also mark up their location data in the footer. Someone told me that if it's on the page, it carries more weight than if it's in JSON LD.
It's like having stereo. You've got two different channels producing sounds. They're at different frequencies, so they complement each other. Same sort of idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it makes sense that you would trust something that's also displayed on the page rather than just in the head, correct?
Right. And there are people who are doing ratings on pages for products and rankings, and they tell how many reviews in that schema, and they don't show any reviews, which is sort of a misstep.
Yeah.
If you've got an e-commerce website where you're showing off reviews and you don't show any of the reviews, it's not the right way to do it.
Well, it's also not getting the trust that the reason you want them there hasn't been fully implemented. In other words, you want them there so customers trust, but if they just see, oh, it's got a rating, but no actual testimonials or reviews, they say, oh, well, they can put anything.
If you've got a snippet that's a rich snippet, it's got markup, it's showing a certain number of reviews and ratings, and you click through and you can't find any of those, people are going to say, are these people hiding something from us?
Right.
Yeah.
That's also something that I know Google slaps you around pretty good.
Yeah.
One of the sites I've been working on, they implemented the ratings for the site on every page of the website.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm sure there's still a drag on their rankings from it. Can't prove it, but things haven't been the same since.
I believe it. Okay, so we've got to close on down now.
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile. We've done our part.
All right. It was good talking to you, Terry.
Good talking to you always, Bill.
Uh-huh. Be talking again soon. Bye now.